Good evening. My name is Brian Cofrancesco, and I am the head of Education and Kid Governor at the Connecticut Democracy Center at Connecticut's Old State House. It is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's evening conversation, Civics, Youth Engagement, and Women in Politics, a conversation between Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysiewicz and Connecticut's Kid Governors. This program is presented in partnership with the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. We are thrilled to have so many viewers watching on Facebook and YouTube tonight. And I hope you will all follow Connecticut's Old State House and Connecticut's Kid Governor on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for live social media during this program and to learn more about our work around civics and history. So today, September 9th, 2020, marks the 5-year anniversary of the launch of the Connecticut's Kid Governor program. Kid Governor is an award-winning civics program created by our education team at the Connecticut Democracy Center back in 2015. It is a free tool for teaching 5th graders about state government, voting, elections, and civic engagement that immerses students in an authentic election for their state's Kid Governor. Each fall, thousands of 5th graders in classrooms across our state identify and research problems in their communities that they want to fix and create campaign platforms and action plans to make a difference around those problems. 7 statewide finalists advance to an election in November, and as we as adults head to the polls, 5th graders watch the finalists' campaign videos and cast their votes to elect the next Kid Governor. The student who is elected serves a 1-year term of leadership, working with our team to realize their platform goals and inspire their constituents to take informed action. The 6 finalists from the election also serve a 1-year term as members of the Kid Governor's cabinet, and they work to advance their own platforms and meet regularly in the Kid Governor's office at Connecticut's Old State House or virtually to advise the sitting Kid Governor. In just 5 years, Kid Governor has grown into a national movement in civics education with affiliate programs in Oregon and New Hampshire. Between the 3 states, more than 32,000 5th graders have participated in Kid Governor. The program is presented in partnership with the National Association of Secretaries of State and the Connecticut Council for the Social Studies, with partnership and funding support provided by Connecticut Humanities and the Gulicki Family Foundation. So if you're a 5th grade teacher, administrator, or parent, please visit ct.kidgovernor.org for more information about registering your class to participate in this free civics program this fall. Your 5th grader could be the next Connecticut's Kid Governor. In addition to our 5-year anniversary, September 14th marks the 100th anniversary of Connecticut's ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, guaranteeing women the right to vote. The convergence of these anniversaries is particularly poignant, given that our 5 Kid Governors are all female leaders. Tonight is a historic night because you will get to meet and hear from all 5 of our Kid Governors: Elena Tipton, Jessica Brocksom, Megan Kasperowski, Ella Briggs, and Myra Stanfield, appearing together for the first time ever. It is also a historic night because our conversation will be moderated by Connecticut's Lieutenant Governor, Susan Bysiewicz. The panel will discuss the Kid Governor's achievements during their 1-year terms, how the experience of serving as Kid Governor impacted their lives, the importance of youth civic engagement, and their perspectives on women in politics. We encourage you to ask questions in the comments section, and we will do our best to answer as many of those questions as possible towards the end of tonight's program. And now, without further ado, it is a true honor to introduce our moderator for tonight's conversation. Sworn into office on January 9th, 2019, Susan Bysiewicz is serving her first term as Connecticut's 109th Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz formerly served as Connecticut's Secretary of the State from 1999 to 2011, and as a state representative in the Connecticut General Assembly from 1993 to 1999, representing the towns of Middletown, Middlefield, and Durham. Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz graduated from Middletown High School, Yale University, and Duke Law School. She is the author of the book Ella, a biography of Ella Grasso, Connecticut's 83rd governor. She and her husband, David Donaldson, reside in Middletown. On a personal note, I remember meeting the Lieutenant Governor at a community event back in 2005 when she was Secretary of the State and I was a high school student. She asked if we could take a picture together, and 2 days later, I received a copy of that photo in the mail with a handwritten note, which I still have. Her message to me was, quote, "Thank you for your interest in voting and elections. Don't forget to register to vote." 2 years later, at another community event, we met again, and she officially registered me as a Connecticut voter right on the spot. And I bring this up because it's been 15 years since I first met the Lieutenant Governor, and she is still such a strong proponent of voting, elections, and youth engagement. And that's why it's so wonderful that she's moderating tonight's discussion with our kid governors. So with that, I will pass our program over to Connecticut's Lieutenant Governor, Susan Bysiewicz.
Brian, thank you so much for your leadership and for everything that you're doing to engage our young people in Connecticut and literally across the country. And I am so excited to be here this evening to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Connecticut Kid Governor Program and all of the amazing accomplishments of all of our kid governors. And you're going to meet them shortly. And you will meet our current kid governor and past kid governors, and you're going to see that they are all young ladies. And the reason this is so fitting for this year and this moment is our state is getting ready to celebrate the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in Connecticut. And next week, on September 14th, the Secretary of the State and Annie Lamont and I will be celebrating that milestone when Connecticut ratified the 19th Amendment. So it's exciting to be here with all of these wonderful kid governors, because for the past 5 years, this program has shown to the people of Connecticut and to people across the country that you're never too young to make a difference in the lives of others, whether it's identifying ways to spread kindness, whether it's advocating and helping animals, lifting the spirits of those battling cancer, or advocating for LGBTQ rights. All of our Connecticut's kid governors have made significant contributions to their communities and to our state. This award-winning program encourages and inspires the next generation of leaders to step up, to speak out, and to be involved. And I have to say, this is very heartwarming for me because I chair the Governor's Council on Women and Girls. And I have the opportunity, particularly with the help of our leadership subcommittee, to put together programs, policies, and plans that will encourage our young leaders. And that's why I'm so proud of each of our Connecticut's kid governors. They are very strong, confident, competent young women. And I couldn't be prouder of each of them and of what they've achieved during their terms. And I cannot wait to see what they're going to do as they continue their education and go out into the world to lead. So I want to say, on a personal note, it's been such an honor to serve with you, Ella and Myra. I mean, Ella, literally, the governor and I had been sworn into office for just a couple of days before we had the opportunity to see you being sworn in with all of the constitutional officers and Congresswoman Johanna Hayes. It was a great moment that the governor and I won't forget at the beginning of our term. And Myra, it was a pleasure earlier in this year, pre-COVID, to actually go to the State House and see you be inaugurated as well. And I'm looking forward to getting an update from you. So I hope that some of you, or all of you, are going to continue your careers in public service in the future. And you should know there are so many ways that you can serve. We need to have women's voices at the table representing us at all levels of government, whether it's in municipal service, in state service, or service at the federal level, or whether it's volunteering at the local, state, or federal level, because there are so many important ways that you can give back to your community. So now, let me just say what a great honor it is to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Kid Governor program. And I'm very proud to introduce each of these wonderful governors. And I'm going to introduce them starting from the very first one, Elena Tipton. Elena was Connecticut's 2016 Kid Governor, who focused on spreading kindness to one another and displaying acts of kindness. So thank you, Elena, for that. And next, I'd like to introduce Jessica Brocksom of Connecticut's 2017 Kid Governor program, who during her term worked promoting animal welfare. And animal welfare and animal rights have been a very important topic. So Jessica, thank you for bringing that to the fore. And next, I'd like to introduce Megan Kasperowski, Connecticut's 2018 Kid Governor, who worked to further support people with cancer and lift their spirits during their term. And what a great thing to do, Megan. There's so many people in each of our families who've been touched by cancer. So you chose something that would really help lots of people. So thank you for thinking of that important project. Next, I'd like to introduce Ella Briggs. Ella was Connecticut's 2019 Kid Governor. Ella was sworn in just a couple of days after Governor Lamont and I were. And her focus was on spreading pride, hope, and love, and LGBTQ safety. And Ella was a huge inspiration, and I want you to know that the governor and I fight for equality and opportunity for everybody in our state. And it was a pleasure to march with you down Main Street in Middletown at the first ever Pride Parade. And we were just lamenting that, unfortunately, that Pride Parade got canceled due to COVID. So we were a little disappointed, but maybe next year, bigger and better. And finally, it's my pleasure to introduce Myra Stanfield. Myra is Connecticut's 2020 Kid Governor, and she focused on and ran on the platform of standing up for animals in need. Such an important topic, as they cannot advocate for themselves. And Myra is joining us from the State House, the old State House. You can see she's sitting at the desk, and she is there with her friends and family and teachers who have helped guide her. Young ladies, it's a pleasure to introduce and to see you all, and I just cannot wait to hear more about each of your experiences as Kid Governor and learn a little more about how you've continued to advocate for the different platforms that you've run on during each of your terms and beyond. So with that, what I'd like to do is start our program, and we're going to ask each of these young ladies to respond to the same questions because we want to hear from each of them. And when we go through these questions, then we're going to ask our audience to ask questions of these very sharp, smart, competent young ladies. So Elena, we'll start with you. Can you just introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are, where you go to school, and talk about a little bit about the platform that you ran on and advocated for as Kid Gov?
Hi everybody, my name is Elena Tipton. I was your 2016 Kid Governor and I ran on a platform of kindness. I just started my sophomore year of high school at East Hartford High School. So my platform had 3 points, just as all the other Kid Governors do. My first point was to make the 13th of every month Kindness Day, because the reason I chose the 13th is because often you hear like 13 and it's a bad number. So I was thinking like we could kind of switch that around and make it a good day for everybody. My second point of my platform was to bring buddy benches to 10 schools across the state of Connecticut. And I'm happy to say that during my term, I brought 15 buddy benches across the state of Connecticut. And my third point is to just listen to the students across Connecticut, and especially the young students, on what they want to do to be kind and celebrate their kindness to each other.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Elena. So Jessica, please introduce yourself and tell us where you go to school, and please talk about your platform.
Right. Hi, I'm Jessica Brocksom. I was the 2017 Connecticut's Kid Governor. I am 14. I just started my freshman year of high school at Jonathan Law, which is in Milford, and my platform was all about helping animals, those without a voice. But my 3-point plan was to learn and support tougher laws to help animals. And my second point was to promote collection drives for animal shelters and pounds across the state. My third point was to create an educational presentation to be shown in schools across Connecticut.
Excellent. Megan, can you talk a little bit about yourself and your platform, please?
Hi, I'm Megan Kasperowski, and I was the 2018 Kid Governor. I'm currently in 8th grade at Portland Middle School, and my campaign was called Stronger Than Cancer, and the 3 points of my platform were to first raise money to support people with cancer and cancer research, and then second, having comedians and magicians visit hospitals to entertain cancer patients, and then third was to create a video of interviews with people who have or have cancer.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Ella Briggs, tell us about yourself and your year and what you're doing now.
Hi, I'm Ella Briggs. I was the 2019 Kid Governor. I just started 7th grade yesterday, and my campaign was on Pride, Hope, Love, LGBTQ rights. So for my 3 points, I had a poster contest to help raise awareness for LGBTQ youth in foster care, and that needs to be adopted because a lot of kids, when they come out to their parents, will get sent to foster care or will be kicked out of their homes. So I raised awareness to promote either fostering or adopting LGBTQ youth kids, and by doing that, I made a poster contest, and for 5th graders across the state, and on the posters, they drew and wrote about what family meant to them, and we put it in a calendar for Family Day. And I also made a podcast, I guess you could say, for teachers and school leaders on how they can better respect and help their LGBTQ students feel more welcome and safe in their classrooms. And I also did, I made like a little pamphlet for elementary schoolers on how they can start a gender sexuality alliance, because there are some books for high schoolers, but they may be like a little bit long and a little bit too big for elementary schoolers. So I made like a quick and easy one with nice drawings so they can get started and it will be nice and easy for them.
Excellent. Thank you, Ella. So Myra, you have the distinction of being the kid governor who's had to lead during the era of COVID. So tell us about where you are and how that's going. And Governor Lamont and I are extremely curious as to how your tenure is working out in the midst of COVID, because we feel for you.
Well, I've gotten to do everything that Elena, Jessica, Ella, and Megan have been able to do. And I also, a highlight was I was able to meet Aja and Susie, who are the kid governors in the other states. And I was able to complete my 3-point plan, which was, so my first point was to inform and educate kids that animal abuse is an issue and that we can stop it together. And then my second point was to raise funds for shelters and have donation drives. And we can ask the shelters what they need and how we can help them, especially during this time. And then my 3-point plan was to have a statewide adoption event, and we were able to have many pets were able to be adopted, and it was very fun.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. We think that's really great, and that's impressive that you've been able to power through despite all of the challenges that we've had with COVID. So good for you. And just a question, you mentioned you met the other kid governors from other states. Were they girls?
Yes, both girls.
I'm just saying, it's too bad we didn't have a woman running for president who was going to be on the ballot November 3rd. But let me just say, Connecticut, stay tuned. All right. So next question, we'd like each of you to answer. And this time we're gonna go in reverse order. So we're gonna start with Myra. And the question is, before you got elected kid governor, how involved were you in your community before you were elected? And your community could be your school or elsewhere. So Myra, we'll start with you.
I wasn't extremely involved, but I would have liked to be. I was elected my school's president right before kid governor, because that gave me the ability to run for kid governor. And then I just saw kid governor as a perfect chance to make a difference.
Ah, okay. Ella, how about you? Were you involved in school or community prior to running for kid governor?
So I always knew what was going on in the news. Like my parents and my sister would talk to me about it, and I was always searching for a way that I could get my hands on it and I could just fix it up kind of and just make a difference. And so when I saw the kid governor, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I have to at least try, and I made it here. But yeah, I've been to different pride parades. I've been looking. I was looking for the perfect point where I could help, and then it just landed right in my lap.
Yeah, and so I say this to people all the time: is life has a way of working out. And there are so many opportunities to serve. Just keep your eyes open and you will find that opportunity. Megan, how about you? Were you involved in your school or your community prior to kid governor? Tell us about that.
So I wasn't really too involved, but definitely when I started kid governor, it kind of just put a different perspective, and I realized how fun it can be to help others. So.
Excellent. And tell me, Jessica, how about you? Were you involved in your community before you were elected?
Yeah, actually a lot. We would go like on the weekends and stuff, and we'd donate things to the animal shelter. And I always loved helping around my school just to help the teachers out and other students when they needed it.
Right, and I think that's great. How about you, Elena? Were you involved in your school or community prior to being elected?
I was definitely involved in my school, but I think my concept of community was completely different than what it changed to when I got elected. And I think when in fourth grade before I was elected in fifth grade, my concept of community was just my school. And your school is your community to a certain extent, but your community can be so many different things. And I think the Kid Governor program helped me open my eyes to that. So
Absolutely. And so your platform was spreading kindness. So I just have to say, I'm crediting you with all those signs you see all over the place that say "be kind." Have you noticed those? Those are everywhere. That was a good idea. Okay, thank you. So now our next question is this: how did your experience as Kid Governor change you as a person? And you can answer this in whatever way you feel is appropriate for you. And you might want to say how it is that you've used it as a springboard, or how it's helped you in other ways. So we're going to go back. Let's start with Myra, and then we're going to go to Jessica. Excuse me. Go ahead, Myra. What would you say?
I don't think I really changed as a person, but I was able to share my thoughts with everybody in Connecticut. And, well, I think how it's been effective as a platform, so to speak, was, well, I was able to, share my thoughts and show everybody how we can make a difference, how kids can make a difference, how girls can make a difference. Yeah.
They absolutely can. And I'll just say you've been there for the shortest period of time. So next year I want to ask you the same question to see if you've changed your perspective. Ella, how about you? Do you feel like the experience of being Kid Governor changed you in any way?
Yeah, I feel like it's made me realize more that kids can actually make a difference, and that they know what's going on. Like, sometimes people will just say, like, no, you're a kid, you don't understand. No, you're a kid, you don't get to talk about this with us. Like, we do understand. Just because we're younger than you doesn't mean that we have less knowledge than you. And it's really giving me that opportunity to kind of sit back and look on how much kids can change the world, and how people really don't give us enough credit sometimes, because we can do things and we can think about things, but sometimes people just don't really see it that way. So I think the governor made me realize that kids can really do anything that adults can do.
No, I think that's true, Ella. And to highlight what you just said, look at the Black Lives Matter movement and the people who came out to say enough is enough. And young people were leading the way. And and I hope all of those young people who are eligible to register to vote take the opportunity. And I encourage all of them, not just to vote, but to run for office and to be those change makers that you all have been. How about you, Megan? Would you say your experience as Kid Governor changed you, or what have you learned from that experience, do you think?
Yeah, I think becoming Kid Governor definitely did change who I am, because it taught me so many new skills, like public speaking, for example. Like, I used to be afraid just to stand up in front of my class, and now, at the inauguration, it just felt so much easier to stand up in front of so many different classes and more people.
Public speaking is a really good skill to have no matter what you do in your life. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. And it does, the more you do it, the better you get at it and the easier it is. But I still get nervous. So, and you know what? It's good to be a little bit nervous because I think you do better when you really want to do a good job. Jessica, how about you? What can you say about your experience as kid governor?
Well, my experience has definitely taught me to stay more informed in what's happening in the world because knowledge is kind of your power. You know? If you have enough knowledge, you can really do anything. And that's kind of what my whole experience has taught me.
And you know what? Each of us is an expert in whatever we're passionate about. And so you see that in the legislature that certain people who lead committees, the environment, human services, education, they're passionate about those things. So they're the subject matter experts. So you all each brought a subject matter expertise, which is so important. Elena, how about you? You've had the longest time to reflect on what kid governor has meant to you. So how do you see it changing or making your life different?
So I have always been an extroverted person, I feel like, but the Kid Governor program taught me and changed my perspective that I need to use my confidence and I need to use the way I'm able to speak out to advocate for those who may not be able to speak out and advocate for those issues that are so important in our communities that are not touched on enough. And yeah, that's what I learned from the Kid Governor.
That's a good thing to appreciate. So now I'm going to start with Jessica, and we're going to have each of you answer this question. Have you or will you continue to advocate for the issue that you ran on? And you can either talk about this generally or specifically what you've done since you left office, or maybe something you hope to study or plan to do. So Jessica, how are you going to continue your advocacy on issues that you care about?
Well, my whole platform was all about animal cruelty and giving a voice to those who don't have one. We have actually rescued 2 more animals, so that's one thing that's been keeping us busy. And I plan to, as soon as the pandemic starts to cool down, I plan to get back into shelters and start doing a lot more volunteering work.
Got it. Megan, how about you? Have you continued to work with cancer patients? Is that something that you hope to do in the future? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I chose helping those with cancer, I didn't really know much about it, but definitely since I've been kid governor, I've just done more research and learned a lot more about what it really is and who's affected by it.
Excellent. Ella, how about you? Have you had the opportunity to keep expanding on your LGBTQ rights and equality platform?
Yeah, I'm always catching up on the news. I'm always working hard. I'm signing petitions online. I'm making sure that I'm doing everything I can to not only bring justice to the LGBTQ community, but the Black community, the trans community, women, that whole Muslims, and as soon as COVID kind of cools down a little bit, I'm excited to get back to pride parades and festivals and really just make people feel comfortable.
Excellent. And you're right. We've made, even though we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in our country, just looking at each of you makes me think about how much further we have to go, because we don't have enough women. It's not 50-50 women governors. And we were talking about this prior to the start of the show. We have 9 women governors out of 50 in our country. And we have 15 lieutenant governors, 8 attorneys general, only 26 women out of 100 in our U.S. Senate. So hopefully, I'll check back in with you in 10 years and see you in some important offices. So how about you, Myra? How are you going to continue your advocacy?
Yeah, I would definitely love to continue helping out the animals. As Jessica said, I would like to volunteer and donate and try to get others to as well, even after I'm kid governor.
Excellent. And Elena, how about you? What are you planning on doing? Or
Kindness
what
is,
have you done?
I'm sorry. Kindness is something that I will always continue to advocate for, and you would think that kindness is such an easy thing to do, and being kind to one another is just something that it just comes naturally. But as we can see in the news and in our current world, it has not come naturally for everybody. So I think it's very important that I continue to advocate for kindness, and a little act of kindness can really go a very, very long way, and I think that's very important for everybody to know.
Absolutely. And the moral power of young people, I think, is very, very strong. So whether you're still the elected kid governor like Myra, or you're a former kid governor, you each have the platform of your own life to continue to advocate. So I really appreciate all that you are doing. Now I'd like to ask you this question. Why is it important for young people to be involved in their school or in their community? So what we'll do is we will start with Elena on that one.
Okay, so I think it's very important for young people to be involved in their communities because we are the future. The world that we're creating now is the world that we are going to live in when we're older. So getting young people involved in their communities at a young age and being able to speak on what they believe in and create that world that they truly do want to live in is very important.
Excellent. Myra, why do you think it's important for young people to be involved?
Well, I think they should just all know that they can all make differences, big and small, and especially women as well. We're equal to men, and I just think every kid should know that they have a voice and they can use it if they want to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I'll say with respect to voting is research actually shows that women's votes have made the difference in every presidential election since 1960 because more women have voted than men. So women take their civic responsibility really, really seriously. And at the most basic level, our vote is our voice. Ella, why do you think it's important for young people to be out there involved in their communities?
Like Elena said, we're the future. We're the next lawyers. We're the next presidents. We're the next scientists. We're the next people dealing with the justice issues. We're the next people dealing with global warming and everything like that. So if we can learn about it while we're still young, then that just gives us a head start into our future careers. If we want to change our earth around and make it really better, then we really have to try to learn for all of us, not just the kids, to learn how we can help in each and every one of our lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Megan, how about you? Why is it important for young people to be super involved?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing as Elena and Ella, that this is like our future and that still in 20 or 40 years from now, we're still going to need people to volunteer to help out other people. So I think that's really important. For young people now should start volunteering and helping.
Jessica, how about you? Why do you think young people are should be poised and be involved in their community?
Yeah, it's important because when people start to get involved, it gives their entire community a new perspective, and it gives themselves a new perspective on what the world should look like and what you want it to be in the future.
Indeed, indeed. The future is what you make of it. So to that point, Here's what I'd like each of you to be thinking about. So as you look at the past couple of years, I'd ask each of you, do you feel encouraged or discouraged from going into public service? And public service could be elective office or working in government in some other capacity. Elena, are you encouraged or discouraged as you think about your experience and what's happening in the world?
I think it can go both ways. So I feel encouraged to get involved in public service because of what's going on in the world and to kind of like clap back on it. But also at times, like some things that people can say can be pretty discouraging about, I mean, women getting involved in politics. So.
Yep. Well put. Jessica, how about you? Encouraged, discouraged, a little of both. What do you think?
I'm definitely encouraged because, I've always wanted to go into public service eventually at some point in my life. It's just deciding what exactly I want to do because there's such a wide range of what I can do to make the world a better place.
You're so right. And I say this to people all the time. There are so many ways to contribute and make the world better, whether it's in your community, your state, internationally. There's so many different ways to make a difference. So have an open mind and do what's interesting to you. Myra, how about you? Encouraged, discouraged? You're sitting there in the office there at the old State House. Is it weighing on you? Is it encouraging you? How are you feeling about it?
I really have no idea. I've really, since a couple of years ago, I wanted to study aliens. I really wanted to be a xenoarchaeologist, but I also want to make a difference. And I think that if I could do both, then that would really be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Ella, how about you?
I'm feeling a little bit of both. I think that we definitely need to take a step forward and that we need to get better, just like at everything, I guess. But also it can be really, really difficult and people can be rude about it and people can be very nasty in politics. But just kind of a little bit of both. I'm not really sure yet. I wanna help, but I don't really know how yet. So I'm still figuring that out.
And you don't have to know immediately. And in the meantime, you're going to be presented with all kinds of opportunities like the Kid Governor program, or as you continue your school career, you're going to see other opportunities to help out in your community. How about you, Megan? Glass empty, glass half full?
Yeah, I think I've been encouraged because when I was in office, I definitely would encourage myself. And also I've noticed encouragement from my teachers and family.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I'll just say this, that I am one of those people that gets motivated when things get harder, then I just get more committed. If somebody tells me I can't do something, then I become even more determined, and when I see challenges, I see opportunities in those challenges. And, there are times when I get extremely frustrated. I see things happening at the federal level that I just disagree with so vehemently. And then I become more determined to try to do something positive at the state level. And so I try not to feel overwhelmed, because it's pretty easy to feel overwhelmed when you read the news and you think, oh, one person can't do anything about it. But that's what I find really invigorating about public services. Over and over, I see how one person can make a huge difference. And each of you are examples of exactly that, which is why I'm here and why I'm feeling so inspired. So I want to ask you this, because this is something that the Council on Women and Girls thinks about every day. And it's this question: how do we get more women, particularly young women, involved in leadership at all levels? And it could be politics, it could be business, it could be all manner of subject areas. So Elena, what do you think about that?
I think that to get more young people and especially young women involved in public service is to show that there are people like them in public service. So I think getting more women and making it normal for a woman to run for Congress, to run for lieutenant governor, to run for governor, to run for president will encourage young students and young women to get involved.
Yep, if you see it, you can be it. And we need to be seeing more of that. How about you, Jessica? What do you think? How can we get more women and young people involved?
I think by inspiring them and showing them how, no matter who they are, they can make a difference, and to show them how great it is to be a female leader and a female voice.
Indeed. Megan, how about you? Who are there any women leaders that inspire you? What can we be doing to get more young women involved in leadership roles?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to get women, especially young women, involved because it's important to see like other people's perspectives on every topic.
Excellent. How about you, Ella?
So I'm thinking that we could like focus on different things and maybe like school maybe. Because a lot of times at school when we're talking about public figures, we're talking about straight white men. And I think that it would be amazing if we could talk about more like AOC, Kamala Harris, all of those like amazing women, Deshana Hayes, all of these amazing women, and we could show girls that look, these amazing women are doing amazing things. You can do that too, because when I was little and I was in school and I saw all these males and I was like, oh, I guess that's just a job for boys. I was thought I could do that because I didn't understand that there were other powerful women doing that. So I feel like if we could help well-round basically what we're teaching, then it can help students realize that, oh, I can do this too. I can do that too.
Yep. Absolutely. How about you, Myra? What are you thinking from where you sit over there in the State House? How can we get more young girls and women involved and be sitting in a chair like that?
Well, I guess evidently we've been just standing here for the past 100 years now. And we get to vote, so why can't we run? And we can all make differences if we're kids, adults, women, men. It doesn't really matter.
That's right. That's right. And I'll say there are certain leadership programs that girls can be part of. One is the Girl Scouts of Connecticut. They have a Gold Award program that's very similar to the Eagle Scout program that Boy Scouts have been involved with. And there have been a number of presidents, astronauts, members of Congress who've been Eagle Scouts. And there actually are a bunch of women who are in the U.S. Congress who were Girl Scouts and were part of that leadership program. The other program that I would point out to you ladies is Laurel Girls State in Connecticut, and there's Boy State for boys. And that is a youth in government program that you can participate in that the American Legion puts on. And I often speak at that. For both the boys and girls state. And it happens in June, late June, when you are a junior in high school. So I think each of you would be great. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And you can spend a week learning how a bill becomes a law. And I'll say this, that I met Ella Grasso when I was in high school at the Girls State program, and she's the person who inspired me to go into politics and public service. So always have an open mind, because you never know who you might meet along the way. It could be a teacher, it could be a coach who's going to inspire you to be a future leader. And I think we're gonna do one more question, because we want to take some questions from the audience. What we'd like to ask you is this: what piece of advice would you give to a fellow student who might want to speak up about an issue, but may not have the confidence to do it? So, Elena, you want to take that first?
Sure. So my advice to any student who doesn't feel confident enough to speak up on an issue that they really strongly believe in is to find somebody to help you. Find somebody who you can talk to and that they may be able to speak up for you and get your points out. And then I would also suggest speaking out doesn't have to be speaking in front of 3,000 people or even 100 people. You can sign petitions, exercise our right to protest. For people who are old enough to vote, exercise the right to vote, and really get involved in your communities in other ways than speaking out if you're more shy or introverted.
That's very good advice. Jessica, any advice you'd give?
My advice is that if you're not confident enough to talk about it yourself, you can always contact one of your state representatives. They can always help with your platforms. So you could talk to even a parent or a teacher, and they'll help you get to someone, because every voice matters, and you can make a difference, like no matter who you are.
Yep. How about you, Megan?
Yeah, I think it's important to be confident, because you need to know that there will be people supporting you. And when I ran for governor, I wasn't even going to submit my video, but I did it, and I sure am glad I did.
Ella, any pearls of wisdom?
I would say before you talk about it to anyone, maybe you should research it a little bit so just you can get more details about it. And then maybe share it with either a few friends or family members if you're shy about it at first. But really just have confidence in yourself. What your idea is, it should be your idea, so it should be pretty good. So,
absolutely. And I think when as you run it by people, it can help you refine what your idea is and
yeah,
make it better.
Definitely. And then maybe you could share it with a class and then to the school, and then you could work your way up to somewhere in a position like one of us.
Yeah. Myra, you got the last word. What's
Well,
your
yeah,
advice?
I agree with Ella. You should be yourself. There's no one better to be. And yeah, the really small changes can make the hugest differences. And I just think you should go for it.
I love it. Go for it. Okay, so Mr. Cofrancesco, go for it. We've got questions from the audience.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of really good questions that have come in that we wanted to ask you as some follow-ups. And so the first one is actually for the Lieutenant Governor. Would you be able to speak a little bit about how you got involved in politics?
Okay. So I like to tell this story because it goes to what I was explaining to the girls before. So when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to go to Girls State to learn about government and how a bill becomes a law. And when I was there, the program was at UConn, and I was at Jorgensen Auditorium with this group of 200 very noisy high school girls. And all of a sudden there was this hush that fell, and I looked around to see why that was. And I realized that it was Ella Grasso, the governor of the state, and by the way, ladies, the first female governor ever elected in her own right in the country. And she was very dignified, and she's a very commanding person, and she walked up the main aisle toward the podium. And then I remember listening to her and thinking, no, I just love this. She's talking about how every day she helps people, and how I saw how passionate she was about public service. And I remember thinking, maybe someday I would like to do that. And I really think she was, when I was in college, I wrote a paper about her that later became the first biography of Ella Grasso. And she was somebody who made history, not just in Connecticut, but across the country and around the world in 1974 when she was elected. And people all over the world were writing about this woman who had become the governor of a state in the United States. And so, she was my inspiration. And interestingly, my career path, as luck would have it, kind of followed hers, because I ran for state representative and served for 3 terms like she did, and served 3 terms as secretary of the state. She ran for Congress before she was governor, and I didn't do the Congress thing, but I'm now lieutenant governor, so you never know. But that's how I came into politics, and literally it was something that happened to me when I was in high school that I think inspired me, and that's why I've been very curious to hear what's inspired all of our kid governors.
That's such a great story, and you were really kind to meet with Myra and her cabinet earlier this year at opening day of the General Assembly, and I remember you talking to them about Ella Grasso and her achievements and how she inspired you, so it's such a nice story to share. Okay, the next one's for our kid governors. What was your favorite moment as kid governor? Was there an event, a conversation, or someone you met that really stuck with you? And we'll start with Jessica on this one.
I think one of my favorite moments was actually at my inauguration, and it was when I got to look back and I saw my teacher, and she just had this look of total, she was so proud, and I was proud of her because she actually got me there all the way through the way, and I can always think about that. It's a moment that I can never forget.
Love our teachers. Thank you, teachers.
Yes, really big shout out to all of our Kid Governor teachers who are watching tonight and who help bring Kid Governor to life. They're the ones who make this program so successful. How about you, Megan? What was your favorite moment or memory from being Kid Governor?
My favorite memory was probably during the library visit. I was at one of the libraries and to the girl who had cancer. It was so nice to talk to her. She's maybe 4 years old, and so just to see that she's still just like a little kid and enjoying life, it was so nice. That was probably my favorite.
That's great. That's so powerful. And, and Myra's going to be kicking off her library circuit tomorrow night, actually. So I'm hoping she'll have a similarly rewarding experience during her time meeting with different people across the state. Ella, how about you? Favorite memory as Kid Governor?
Oh, wow. There's so much. I think probably being a guest of honor at the Mohegan Sun Pride Night for the basketball game. It was so fun. We got to swim in the pool afterwards, and all my friends came, and we met all of the basketball players, and they were all so nice. And we had cupcakes, and we threw t-shirts. It was just a really fun night.
I have to say the Mohegan Sun women's basketball team, love them, and I got to go give them a citation. So that was one of my highlights of being lieutenant governor. Pretty cool.
And Myra, you're about 3/4 of the way through your term. What's been your favorite moment so far?
I think so far I have 2. Is that okay?
Sure.
Well, I really liked the adoption event. It really made me feel good. And then I also loved meeting Ella. She was so nice and inspiring.
Oh, Myra, by the way, I have something to tell you. We rescued 3 kittens because of you.
Thank you.
We have 4 cats now, and we were so inspired by you, so we got
Congratulations.
kittens. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that.
That's
My
wonderful.
hus-
That's what it's all
My
about.
husband refuses to let me near any kind of animal shelters because he's afraid I'm going to fill up the car with every available animal.
That's what I'm gonna do when I'm older.
And how about you, Elena? What was your favorite memory or moment?
My favorite moment was speaking at the Women's Hall of Fame dinner. In that moment, I just felt so powerful, and when all the adults were clapping for me and really just listening to what I had to say, I felt in that moment, I felt like I really could make a difference.
Those Women's Hall of Fame ceremonies are very moving and powerful. The women are just incredible, and they have some great programs for girls and young women, so check those out too.
Absolutely. Okay, this one comes in from one of our current Kid Governor teachers, and she asks, do you think service and civics should be taught more in schools? And for that one, let's start with Megan.
I think it's definitely important because it's something that you'll use a lot in your future, whether your job or just learning more about it.
Absolutely. And Jessica, what do you think? Do you think service and civics should be taught more in schools?
Definitely. I mean, it gives students another option about what they could possibly do in the future to just have more choices and more knowledge about what's out there.
Absolutely. Myra, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely they need to learn more about the government, I think, because, yeah, it's really important. And if they ever want to lead, I think they should learn about it. Yeah.
And Elena, I've seen you nodding your head, and I know you and I have had this conversation before. What do you think?
I think definitely for sure. So and like I said before, I'm going into my sophomore year of high school, and this is the first year that I've taken a class on like civic engagement and politics and government in all of my years of school. And I think it's especially important for students who are getting a little bit older to learn about voting, because while voting is very important, it's also important to be an educated voter and know who you're voting for and what they stand for. So definitely very important.
And Ella, how about you? Should service and civics be taught more in our schools?
Absolutely. I didn't really know that much. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know that much about civics before the Kid Governor program came to our school, and that's how I kind of learned more about it. But I think it's really, I think it's quite necessary for kids to learn that stuff because it's another career path. It's another thing that they can choose. Like Jessica said, it's just very important.
And Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz, I've seen you nodding as well. What do you think?
Oh my goodness, I think civics should be taught in every grade. And there is a requirement, and it is that a half a credit of civics must be taught at one point in high school. So that's probably what Elena is doing right now. But I think it's something that should be part of a curriculum from kindergarten through each year in high school, because we need more engaged citizens, and civics and service is really important. And I'll say this about service. There are some countries that actually have a mandatory either military or public service requirement. We don't have this in our country, but I think it's incredibly valuable.
Wonderful. So we're getting to our last few questions. And the next one comes in and asks, what do you think is the most important duty of a kid governor? And why don't we start with Ella for that one? What is the most important duty of a kid governor?
I think it's making your state a different place, a better place. Whether that's just in schools or in one of the cities or just everywhere, and making everybody feel safe and that they're accepted and that they're loved, and making sure that kids feel like they have a voice.
So well said. Very, very nice. How about you, Myra? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's really important to complete your platform and to make a difference. I also think it's important to share your thoughts with everyone and inspire people. Yeah.
Great. Jessica, what do you think is the most important duty of a kid governor?
I think it's important to inform the community about everything that's going on and what they can possibly do to change stuff so that they can make their own opinions and do what they feel is right.
Wonderful. Elena, what do you think?
I think the most important duty for a kid governor is to listen to the young students across America. I mean, not across America, across Connecticut. Well, I got a little excited there.
Think big.
I know. I think one of the biggest issues in our country today is that we don't listen to each other. And I think our duty is to listen to the people who probably feel unheard the most.
And if I could just add, Mr. Co-Francisco, I think each of us has a mission, and I like to say, if I have to define what my mission is and what Governor Lamont's mission is in just a couple of words, I always say that we fight for equality and opportunity for everybody. That's our mission.
Megan, what do you think? I've seen you've been nodding your head too. What do you think is the most important duty of a kid governor?
I think it's really important just to make yourself heard, because each came into this country and I think it's really important to make that happen and make sure that you're being heard.
Great point. Okay. And so I think we're on our last question. Okay. If a student asked whether they should run for kid governor, how would you reply? And so let's start with Myra on this. If a student asked you if they should run for kid governor, what would you reply?
Definitely. I think everyone should run for kid governor and at least try to make a difference, because we all can.
Perfect. Perfectly said. Jessica, how about you? What would you say to a student who asks if they should run for kid governor?
I would say, of course, as long as you have a platform that you are passionate about and you think that can help the world, and just go for it. Right?
Wonderful. And Ella, what do you think?
Absolutely, 100% yes. Personally, it gave me a voice. It gave me an opportunity to let people hear what I need to say and really change the world around me. So if you have a platform that you're passionate about, if you have something that you want to see change, not only in Connecticut but in the world, then definitely run. Even if you don't think you're going to win. I didn't think I had a chance in winning. I just wrote a speech and I was like, oh well, that's fun. But I was like, whoa! Like, just try. And even if you don't win, you can still make a difference without being the governor.
And I think that's such a good point you bring up, Ella, that you can still make a difference even if you don't win and aren't elected as kid governor, because we see year after year the kids who are in the kid governor's cabinet or other students who were their school's nominees still carry their platforms out and are able to make such a big difference. So it's a great point. Megan, how about you? What do you think if a student asked you if they should run for kid governor?
Yeah, I think they should definitely go for it, because the whole experience is just so fun, and I think it's important because being able to help others, and also I've noticed that people in my grade are still, after these 3 years, are still like making their own businesses and helping others, so I think that's really cool to watch. Excellent.
Thank you. And Elena, figured we'd end with you on this question because, as the Lieutenant Governor said earlier, you have had the longest amount of time to reflect on your term as Kid Governor. So 4 years later, what would you say to a student who asks if they should run for Kid Governor?
If a student asks me if they should run for Kid Governor, I would tell them if they feel comfortable running, that they should 100% run and advocate what they feel strongly for. But if they're not comfortable, to participate in the program and to vote in the election, because I mean, running for office isn't for everybody, but it's very important that we participate in. I mean, not every country has the right to vote. Not every country has the privilege to vote. So I think putting that into young children's mind, I mean, at a very young age, is very important. So.
That's a really great place to end it. Before we conclude, I'm going to pass it back to the Lieutenant Governor if she has any closing remarks or anything she'd like to say, and then we'll wrap up tonight's program.
Well, I just want to say thank you to each of these wonderful young women for their service, for serving as governor, and for participating this evening. And I'm just so excited about our state's future and our country's future, because if there are future leaders, I know we're in great hands.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping that we can all from our homes give a big round of applause to tonight's participants. What a conversation this was. It was incredible, and it was wonderful for us to hear more about the experience of our Kid Governors and how it's resonated with them, and to hear such a meaningful conversation about civics and youth engagement. And it's wonderful to hear that our Kid Governors are still inspiring people today. And as Lieutenant Governor said, the future looks bright in Connecticut. We've got some wonderful leaders coming ahead. So I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor and our 5 Kid Governors for joining us. And I hope wherever you're tuning in from tonight, you'll give them a big round of applause for all that they've achieved and all that they're still doing today. So as we wrap up our program, I want to talk about a few of the different ways that you can learn more about Connecticut's Kid Governor. To learn more, I hope that you'll visit our Connecticut's Kid Governor website, ct.kidgovernor.org, and that'll give you more information about the program itself. You can learn about our student leaders, and you can learn about some of the other platforms that kids have run on who might be in our cabinets or who might have been their school's nominees. You can also go to our national website, kidgovernor.org. That is where you can learn more about our programs in Oregon and New Hampshire. And you can learn about the way the program itself operates and how you can support our effort to try to bring this important civics curriculum and lessons and experience to more states. So in closing, I'd like to ask to bring our Kid Governors back on screen for just a moment. I really want to thank all of them for being part of tonight's conversation and remaining active and engaged members of our communities and ambassadors for the Kid Governor program, even up to 4 years after they've completed their terms. And as I said earlier tonight, today is the 5th anniversary of the Kid Governor program, and it's thanks to these really dedicated and inspiring young ladies that the program has become what it is. So round of applause for all of you. Thank you for what you do, and congratulations on everything. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'd also like to thank all of you who are watching tonight's program. I hope you leave us tonight with a new idea or a new perspective or maybe a spark of inspiration after hearing from some of our future leaders. Remember to visit the Connecticut's Kid Governor website, ct.kidgovernor.org, and tune into our social media to learn more about the Kid Governor program. And I really encourage you to share this with 5th grade teachers in elementary schools in your community. It's a free program and an awesome opportunity for teachers to bring meaningful civics to their students. And I'd also have to plug, all of our work revolves here at Connecticut's Old State House, the place where history and civics meet. And I hope you'll follow us on social media and visit our website, ctoldstatehouse.org, for the latest on our future public programs and other activities and programs we have going on here. So with that, thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you have a great night, and we'll see you again soon.